Stratfor is keeping an eye on a Northern Ireland militant nationalist group called the Real Irish Republican Army. This group has conducted car bombings and shootings over the past few years and has escalated the violence in Northern Ireland. While it's nowhere near the kind of violence we've seen during the 1970s and 1980s, they do have the ability to escalate violence and pose a more strategic threat to Great Britain. Since 2008, the Real Irish Republican Army has deployed car bombs. They have conducted shootings. They've killed a couple of British soldiers. And most recently, on October 5th, they detonated a car bomb in the town of Derry. Even though London has devolved over the past decades a lot of power to Belfast, London is still in control of Northern Ireland. The British military is still there. The British intelligence agency, MI5, is still there. There is a small portion of the population in Northern Ireland as opposed to this. As we can see in recent attacks, they're citing British control over Northern Ireland as their main reason for carrying these out. Right now, Northern Ireland is going through very bad economic times. The unemployment rate is very high, especially among young white males, which is what the Real IRA is composed of. So while we can't draw a direct correlation between the economy and violence, certainly the lack of economic opportunities for these men could be a factor that drives them to commit more violence. The reason why the Real IRA hasn't been able to get to the level of intensity that we've seen during the 1970s and 80s is kind of a mixture of they don't really want to, and also they don't have the capability to. As we've seen from the recent attacks, they aren't trying to produce a lot of deaths in these attacks by calling them ahead. We haven't seen a real effort at sectarian violence. We don't really see much activity from the Unionists. Also, they haven't conducted attacks in Great Britain, and specifically in London. This is probably due to their lack of capability. Conducting attacks in London and Great Britain is far more difficult. It's a far less permissive environment for them to operate in and takes more resources. And finally, they just don't have a strategic benefactor. During the 1970s and 80s, the Provisional IRA, the group that was active back then, had contacts with Syrians, had contacts with the East Germans, with Palestinian groups, and they were part of this larger Soviet network. In the past, whenever we've seen upticks in attacks like this, we'll see political movement. However, right now, politically things are pretty stable in Northern Ireland, so we don't really see much room for political negotiation. However, what we are watching for is an increase in aggressiveness from the Real IRA. So this would include carrying out attacks that they don't call in ahead of time. Also, we would look for sectarian violence, maybe if the Real IRA started targeting Unionists or Protestant groups. Also, if there's any indication that they're getting foreign help, if they're getting more sophisticated weapons, if it appears they have more money, these are key signs that they're going back to the days of the Troubles. And finally, something that we're really keeping an eye out for is attacks outside of Northern Ireland, specifically in London and in Great Britain. Attacks in London or Great Britain would show a capability that they're able to strike outside of Northern Ireland and thus pose a serious threat.